Hi, Extreme Cuisine. My dear sister from way over there. I don't remember the country you're in. Nike, I know. Where are you, Nike? Bell Moments, thank you, Sister Jola, for joining. Nike, where are you? Where are you in this world? I know you're not in Nigeria. Albania. Whoa, like near Romania, something like that. Man, that's some way out place. Wow. Long, according to Yoruba people. Far place. Pele, God will take care of you there and bring you back safely in the name of Jesus. I normally like to start with singing a song. And I'm going to repeat this later, but somewhere along the line, close to Italy, okay. Somewhere along the line, I'm going to be inviting some of you on board to share some of your own experiences with your fathers. You like my Yoruba? Esheun. Ejen Sosi. Esheun Gani. Thank you, Sister Jola. I learned Yoruba as a child, and I don't even know how I didn't forget, because for many years I didn't speak it. And then when I met up with people who could speak Yoruba some years later, it just came back naturally. I don't know how. Is that Mademoiselle IB joined? Thank you for showing up. Winnie, thank you for joining us. So Jola, whenever we are together, maybe in private chats and all of that, I'll be speaking Yoruba to you. The girl Didi, thank you for joining. You're welcome. We're just taking a little while to wait for one or two more people to join us, and then we'll get into the conversation for today. It promises to be a very interesting one. And I must say that oh, your dad grew up in the north and he speaks Hausa fluently. That's good. I must say that this session may be emotional for some people. I've seen that happen over and over and severally. People finally understand what's going on with them, and then the emotions just run riot. So don't be afraid of the session. Just know that God can do some crazy stuff with your story. All right, so just waiting a little. Oh, you're the first and only person to pronounce my name at the first try. Yes, Mademoiselle IB. I saw the MLLE and I immediately thought of my French class in secondary school. I know that's how they used to abbreviate Mademoiselle. So I just guessed. Thank God it was a correct guess. Thank you for joining. Today we're talking about fathers. We're talking about the style of fathering that produces or that predisposes people for struggling with addictions. And you may be wondering, really? Yeah. And you know, I like to start the sessions with a song. So I'll sing a song that most probably all of you know. And it's a very old song. So if you know it, sing with me where you are. He is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. He is able, more than able. He can handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able. He can make me what he wants me to be. So now I want you to personalize it. You are able, more than able to accomplish what concerns me today. You are able, more than able. You can handle anything that comes my way. You are able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. Oh, you are able, more than able, to make me what you want me to be. Yes, to make me what you want me to be. Hallelujah. And honestly, that's my prayer every day. Thank you for joining, Lois. Thank you for joining, Funke Adetuberu, my darling Oremi. VY Beauty Gate, thank you for joining. God bless you. And so we just finished singing a song, God is able to make us all that he wants us to be. And I want to quickly go back and say what I said at the beginning, that this session is likely going to be emotional for some people. But don't be afraid of emotions. I mean, one of the things we strive to do is to grow to the place where our emotions don't run our lives, but we run the emotions of our lives. So don't be worried that, my emotions may get out of hand. It's fine. And then I also said that I'll be inviting some of you as we share to share your own personal experience with this topic. And the topic, like I put up on my post, is on father wounding. That's the topic for today's discussion, father wounding. And father wounding is just referring to the style of fathering that fathers bring to the table and how each style can affect the child positively or negatively. Today, I'm not looking at Winnie, thank you for joining. I'm not looking at, and I love you too. I don't faint the day you meet me, just hug me, okay? And one day we will meet, don't worry. If we don't meet here, we'll meet in heaven and you'll tell me I am Winnie, all right? All right, so today we're looking at the negative type of fathering and how it predisposes people to struggling, all right? I run a rehab center, like I keep saying, and the bulk of the children they bring, Jules, thank you, ready to wear gele, thank you. Nde, ND, Edwin, thank you for joining. All right. The young people they bring to the rehab mostly struggle with the relationships with their fathers. With their fathers, not with their mothers. And I'm going to explain that in a minute, why that is so. But what we discovered is that there's a critical role that fathers play in raising children that are balanced. And the weight of that responsibility rests more on the fathers than on the mothers. And the reason why we talk about the father wound more than the mother wound is because the father is the one who was raised to protect, to defend, to provide. Now, relationship man, thank you for joining. The father was the one who was raised to protect, to provide, to defend. Faith Pollitt, thank you for joining. And when the father fails in those areas, big problems arise. So today I'm just going to take the time to tell you the 4 different kinds of deficient fathering that we have and how those styles of fathering predispose a person to struggling with addictions later in life. If you joined us 2 weeks ago when we were talking about addictions, one of the things we said was that every addiction is a cover for fear or pain. Every addiction is a cover for fear or pain. Pastor Kenny, you are the relationship man. I didn't know that. My Osha, Olumati, thank you for joining. All right. Children are egocentric. We said that in the last session. And they believe that everything that happens is because of them. If daddy disappears, oh, I was not good enough. If daddy fights with mommy, oh, I must have done something wrong. So children absorb the atmosphere around them and assume that atmosphere. And that's why we must be very careful what we do around the children, how we raise the children, the relationships that we have as parents over the children. So what are the different kinds of deficient fathering that we have that expose children to addiction? In one of the previous classes we had, I said that we talked about the root of addiction, and we mentioned the addictive society we live in. We mentioned ingratitude. We mentioned personal trauma, and we mentioned the most powerful one, Yele Drums from Kaduna. Thank you for joining. All right. And we mentioned family dysfunction as one of the most potent doorways through which addictions come. And under family dysfunction, you have three things going: abandonment, neglect, and abuse. Abandonment, neglect, and abuse. Those three things are what the family can bring to the table that will constitute family dysfunction to the child that is growing up in such a family. But the emphasis today is on the father, because father is provider, defender, and protector. If you notice, excuse me, when a man raises his children by himself, maybe the wife dies or the wife has left him, the attitude of the children when you meet them is one of, oh, pity me, I don't have a mommy, can you mommy me? If it's a woman they meet. If it's a man they meet, they just put on this helpless face. But when it is the woman who has raised the children alone, the man has either died or disappeared, the attitude of the children, Baba Knowledgeable, thank you for joining. Frank Abu, thank you for joining. The attitude of the children who have been raised by a mother alone is anger. Where's my daddy? Where's my father? Why? The one who should provide direction and leadership is gone. So that child grows up without leadership, grows up without direction, grows up without that authority figure being there to show him the way. So there are four kinds of inadequate fathering. Number one is the missing in action dad. And please, as we talk, I want you to evaluate the kind of father you have had by listening to the characteristics or the criteria. And also, if you are a man and you have children, I want you to evaluate yourself what kind of fathering style you are employing right now, so that if you need to make adjustments, this is the time before your children become set in their ways and all of that. That is if your children are still young. The first one is the missing in action dad. The missing in action dad is a father who physically leaves the home and interrupts his children's bond with him. He physically leaves and interrupts the bonding of his children with him. Now, leaving can be transfer, leaving can be cross-posting, leaving can be divorce. John Bello, thank you for joining. Leaving can be death, leaving can be rig work. Any father who interrupts his children's bond with him by long periods of absences or complete abdication is called the missing in action dad. Now, like I said earlier, children are egocentric. They believe everything that is happening is about them. So if daddy even dies, they don't care. Daddy doesn't love me, that's why he died. If he loved me, he'd have stayed here. Daddy doesn't care about me, that's why he's gone. If he loved me, he'd be here. Daddy goes to work and he doesn't remember I'm here, so his job must be more important than me. Children don't understand that daddy has to work. But then, daddies too need to start understanding that if I have a job that takes me away from the children, I have to start thinking of how to make up for my absences in such a way that it doesn't destabilize my children too much. It will destabilize them, but you can reduce the extent of impact when you know what to do. What is the legacy that such fathers leave for their children? The missing in action dad. They leave the legacy. Talk with JJ. Thank you for joining. They leave the legacy of a problem bonding with others. They have a problem bonding with others. They hold themselves aloof emotionally, psychologically. Yeah, I'm saving the video. Don't worry, ma'am. They have a problem bonding with people. Why? Whenever they attempted to bond with daddy when he showed up, before that bond was complete, daddy was gone again. For example, the daddy that works at the rig, he shows up for 2 weeks and is gone for 2 months. So in those 2 weeks, the children are trying to connect with daddy, trying to show off daddy, and then they wake up one morning, daddy is gone again. So they learn to think this way. Why bother loving? Why bother connecting? The person will be gone anyway. I do marriage counseling also at our center. And I have couples come to me, and one of the couple will say to me, I can't reach her. There seems to be a wall. There seems to be a barrier. I can't reach him. There seems to be a block. This is probably a child that was raised by a missing in action dad, because what they see is the futility of emotionally connecting with another. The person may go away again. What are the symptoms that you will see these people exhibiting? They will have conflict with authority. They will have conflict with authority. Why do they have conflict with authority? Daddy represents authority. And if he didn't love me enough to hang around, anything that looks like authority, I will kick it aside. Anything that looks like authority, I will ignore it. Anything that looks like authority, I'm going to just fight it. You see some people that will just fight with police for no reason. Attack authority for no reason. These are children that were probably raised by missing action. Another thing is that they can drift through life with no real direction. You find some people who do jobs, they will leave this job today, join another one, leave that job tomorrow, and start this vision and drop it, start this business and drop it. You'll be surprised, it is probably because they were raised by a father who was missing in action. They drift in life. Why? The art or the skill of putting down roots is not there. It's impossible for the person to handle and all of that. So that's what happens with children who are raised by missing in action fathers. All right, then they develop what you call codependency. This class is too small for me to start talking about codependency here, but codependency is in a relationship and they try to manage, control, do everything by themselves so that there will be peace and all of that. All right, so this type of children, forgive me, this type of children will struggle. Oh, okay, I don't know what happened there. Something just tripped off. Jefferson John, thank you for joining us. All right, and we were talking about the boundary buster dad, all right? The boundary buster dad who breaks down the boundaries of his children with abuse. And I said that me up to get into addictions, because now if my father wasn't giving me money, even though I did not intend to start sleeping with men for money, now I needed to go to school, I needed to take care of myself, I needed to wear clothes, at least if nothing flamboyant, at least to appear decent. Because of that, I could decide, okay, let me start sleeping with men to get the money so that I can take care of myself. Now without have gone wrong if Jesus was not already in my life helping me to live a good life. All right, now you say the network is poor, you are not hearing me well. If you can't hear me very well, can you indicate with a wave? You can't hear me very well. I should pin the topic. What does that mean? I did not go to this kind of school. I only know how to do live. Ready to wear gele. We're headed towards 60, so we don't know all these things. We're just learning them. You better clap for me that I can even do Instagram live. I have friends who don't even know what is Instagram, so clap for me. All right, anyway, the title is, or what we're talking about today is father wounding. How fathers and the style of fathering wound their children and predispose them to struggling with addictions later in life. So I was saying that my dad of his children. I know fathers who are molesting their daughters sexually. And the daughters can't speak because they start really early and they shut the child's mouth up. The daughters can't say anything. Damn, thank you for joining us. The daughters can't say anything because the fathers threaten them. And sometimes you need to respect that child's privacy. A boundary buster dad is the one that does not allow his children to have an opinion or whatever. He just breaks down the boundaries of his children with all kinds of abuse, and abuse is in many forms. What is the legacy that such a father leaves for his children? It is the legacy of problems communicating boundaries with others. That's one. And two, difficult. Lo, thank you for joining us. You have met people who would quarrel with you for your own stuff and say to you, why are you so uptight? They don't know how to respect other people's boundaries because theirs wasn't respected when they were growing up. You can't give what you don't have. Another legacy boundary buster dads leave for their children is the legacy that of difficulty trusting God's goodness. If the father is the with a lot of abuse before acknowledging that there's a problem. I will underscore that by telling you the story of a woman. Almost every day the husband will beat her up. Beat her, black eye, broken arm, bust ribs, bust lip. Beat her and beat her. And every time she will run to the pastor, and pastor will be like, look, I don't want this man to kill you one day. Can I just take you out of that environment of he will push her outside and she has to sleep outside. My own, at least, he still allows me to sleep inside the house. I mean, if you hear that, you'll be like, what is wrong with this woman? She was raised by a boundary buster dad. So even when her own boundaries are being broken down to nothing, she's not able to react because she had no power to react when daddy was breaking the boundaries or busting the boundaries down. So people that are raised by such fathers will start by telling you the story of a man. He's my husband's friend. They went to school together. we went to visit them one day, and then when we left, my husband said to me, do you know that that man has 7 medical doctors in his house? All his children, 7 of them are medical doctors. And I'm like, that is fantastic. What a brilliant family. You say, no. The truth is that network is hanging you. Sorry, I don't know if it's from me or from you, but it's the reality of our times. Okay, now the father does not accept himself, so he does not accept his child, and the child will develop a distorted image of God, again, because the father that he has is supposed to be a representative of the heavenly Father. God in heaven is also a father, and if this one that I can see is failing, it means that the one in heaven must also be failing. All right, so what is the symptom that critical dad is the one that will immediately be defensive? Please, so I don't know who did this thing, no, I don't even understand what they're doing, no, please don't call my name there. Oh, he's defensive because he has always had to defend himself or herself before the father, always defending his actions. Is the person that will extricate themselves from matters and stand aloof, or quickly start defending even when you haven't accused. Sometimes you hear yourself saying, but I didn't call it. No control under the critical dad, so they just had to stay there, and now that they are no longer under the dad, they still have to keep trying to control. The fourth kind of inadequate father is the shadow dad. The shadow dad is a traditional dad who is physically present but absent totally, essentially. His own addictions have covered him. Any conversations that had serious value, I don't remember many of them with my dad. In fact, I think I only started having serious conversations with my dad after the age of 17 or so. And that essentially is the missing, is his shadow dad. The shadow dad has so many addictions in his life, and he uses the addictions to cope with his own pain. And because he's coping with his own life, he doesn't have anything to give here, whether there is children or wife or family. No, he doesn't. All right. What is the legacy that the shadow dad leaves? that you will reject them. Because daddy being physically there and not being available means that he rejects me. So instead of coming to you and say, Christy, can I have this your pen? The person will come and say, it would be nice if someone can have this kind of pen. It will make someone very happy. The person is talking about themselves, but they are talking in the third person. Reason being, if you say no, in their mind, I didn't really ask. I just said, so these are the men that end up with wives that are unavailable. These are the women that end up with husbands that are unavailable, because somewhere in their consciousness, at the back of their minds, is their attempt to connect with daddy still, and daddy is still not available. Somewhere at the back of their mind is an attempt to reach daddy again, but daddy is not available. So I found that when people paid me compliments, I couldn't take it. I couldn't just accept. If somebody said, oh, you are brilliant, I couldn't accept it, because I had a poor self-image. If somebody tried to give to me, I struggled to accept it. I didn't feel I deserved it. If my father didn't think I deserved his attention, why should anybody think dad? And 4, the shadow dad. So if you are with me still on this class, can you quickly type the kind of father you think you had among the 4? If your father doesn't fall into any of these 4, you are blessed. But if you could recognize your dad in some of the styles of fathering I mentioned, tell me the one that you can recognize. Shadow dad, boundary buster dad, critical dad, or missing. Shadow dad, missing in action, critical dad, boundary buster dad. Which one? Can I have your comments quickly? Let me see those that are still with me. Okay. Winnie, let me know what type of daddy you think you had. Pastor Roland, and predispose a person to addictions. And we've spoken about 4 different types of fathers. The missing in action dad, who interrupts times of bonding with his children with long absences. The boundary buster dad, the one who breaks down the boundaries of his or her children with abuse. His children with abuse. And then the critical dad, who doesn't accept himself and he projects that low self-image on his These kinds of fathers will predispose you to struggling in your life with addiction. It opens you up to addiction. So if you're still here, I would like you to say what type of father you think you had, and let's take it from there. I'll be inviting some of you to join and share some of your experiences if you would. I shared a little bit about my dad and some of the things that happened and how I would have become an addict were it not for the fact that identify if you are exhibiting any of those to your children, because it's time to begin to change. It's time to begin to flip it around, to turn it around, to do differently, and all of that. Dan the humorous, if you're still here, you're also a father. Are you? Do you catch yourself being any of these fathers to your children, missing in action? Excuse me. Even know how to classify your dad, and you want us to listen and then help you classify your dad, then also wave at me and I will bring you up on the live chat so that others can share. Is there anyone who wants to talk about their daddy today? I spoke briefly about my dad, how he was a shadow dad. My dad had many addictions in his life, and his energies were channeled towards keeping that addiction going to deal with his own pains and okay, laughing emoji. We can laugh. In fact, instead of crying, I would like to laugh so that we don't get caught in negative emotions. All right. Network isn't nice at all. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that is happening. Maybe it's my own service that is fluctuating. I don't know, because if more than one person is complaining, then my network must be having a problem. But anybody who wants to talk about their daddy also, Mademoiselle. Yeah, network has been working for you. Oh, I'm so sorry, Rachel. Sorry. All right. Anybody else want to talk about with me? You can just write like Mademoiselle IB did. You can just write what your father was like so that we can look at that and compare with the study we just did. Anybody else? Anybody? Maybe I should call the name. Rachel. Rachel, do you want to say anything about your dad? We're looking at daddies and sometimes the inadequacy of their fathering and how it produces problems or challenges in our lives. Okay, so if you will join me next Tuesday, we'll still be looking at other aspects of addictions as a way of helping Sometimes you can drift in life without proper direction, and you can develop codependency. Pastor Roland, you said your dad also displayed shadow characteristics also. Yes, absolutely. In fact, most African dads are shadow dads. They are there physically, but they don't get involved. I mean, they will sit and be reading their newspaper, and you go to them and you want to talk to them. and they're not looking at you, they're either looking at the newspaper or at the TV. And you say, Daddy, I'm talking to you. What is your problem? Is it my eyes that hear you or my ears? My friend talk, I'm hearing you. But it's not looking at you. And we know that when you're talking to somebody and the person is not looking at you, you feel dismissed. You feel belittled. You feel that you are not important. And all of that. Black Josh, thank you for joining. Yeah, Winnie, you said, yes, mine was terrible. He beat my mom, never took responsibility, didn't train any of his children. That's a shadow dad. He's there, but he has practically almost no value. He's there, but he was only inflicting pain. So he may have that earlier. I can't keep going back for people who are just joining. But having an inadequate father will predispose you to struggling later in life, because daddy was the one that was created to provide, to protect, and to defend. When a man fails in those three areas, then the children struggle really, really badly in different ways. Okay, this is where we draw the curtain. Thank you for joining me today. Tuesday next week, 2 p.m. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays that I if you're struggling to make peace with the kind of father you had, if it's still a